Hey, how's it going? Nova here, and I've been making fan-made MSM content for as long as I've had this channel, which is 3 years now. And over that time, I've learned how to design, draw, animate, and compose monsters. But when I started this channel, I didn't know how to do any of these things, and I think that's made quite apparent when you go back and look at my older videos. Why did I make you? But why cringe at these old monsters when I can redesign them using everything that I've learned over the past 3 years? I will choose a bunch of old monsters to redesign and give them a fresh coat of paint. A very necessary coat of paint. A renovation, one might say?
I'm gonna redesign old monsters I've made.
So, get your paintbrushes ready and pass them over to me, as I'll be redesigning my old monsters. After my last 2 videos, I definitely needed something more tame to do. So if you do enjoy these simpler drawing videos, please leave a like to let me know, as I would love to do this more. Especially since I have a whole catalogue of disgusting monsters to reimagine. If you do enjoy the video, consider subscribing so that you don't miss the next one, as I try to upload every Saturday. And let's check out which monster I will be redesigning first. Picture the scene. It's November 2022, and a young Nova wants to make a prediction for one of Amber Island's next Quint monsters. And you create this. You're full of regret, aren't you? It's okay, I was in that boat too. But now it's time to try and redeem myself. This monster is called Forbash, and was an Amber Island prediction for the cold Quint which became Tuskegee. And it certainly looks cold, doesn't it? They have these frozen feet which definitely look cold, they have some frosting around their eyes, and have these large purple eyebrows and purple jaw, which is one thing I really like about this original design. It has a nice colour scheme to it. I think that the dark purples and greys really contrast with the lighter skin and ice colours very well. So I won't be changing much colour wise outside of improving the lighting and colours to closer match the game. They also have this volcanic structure atop their head. I'm not too sure why I gave the cold Quint a blazing hot volcano, but it sure does look cool. Or should I say hot?
I'm gonna redesign old monsters I've made.
While I was blabbering about the monster's original design, past me was trying to improve the shape of this monster in this redesign, making their head not so large whilst giving the volcanic structure a more complex silhouette. The ice on their legs no longer look like skin-tight socks that you would get from your grandma on Christmas, and now has sharp jagged edges, making it seem much more like a thick layer of ice. Here is Forbash in 2025. As I mentioned before, I really do like the original design's colour scheme, and made sure to keep the redesign's colour scheme as similar as I could, just brighter and more colourful this time around. Looking back at my older work, something I noticed is that the colours and lighting of each monster improved with every monster I made, and you will see this with every monster that I'm redesigning today. The older ones are always much darker, as I just wasn't aware of how dark they actually were. Facial features like their eyebrows and jaw now have a rockier look to them, fitting in more with the volcanic scenery on top of their head. A lot of this redesign was improving the overall shape and silhouette of this monster, and a part of that was making the ice and rocks much more jagged. And I do like what we've ended up with here. The old design looks like a burnt fire pit marshmallow, whereas the new design has a bit of a chill to it, and looks a lot more sharper and potentially dangerous. 4 young Novas out of 5. Before we check out the next monster, I'd like to shout out my patrons who support me each month to help make these videos more possible. I've recently lowered the price of my Patreon, and have also added some extra perks, so if you want to show me further support whilst getting early access to videos, teasers, and discussions, consider checking out my Patreon. Thank you once again for the support, and let's get back to the video. Up next is a monster that is not in any public available videos, but was on my channel at one point. Take a look at this old screenshot. Oh, how things have changed. This set of monsters were the first group of monsters I ever made. And Jitter was amongst this group. It's a critter that jitters. Jitter. The jittering critter. Jitter the critter that jitters. Despite this monster looking like it was made by a very unexperienced Nova, get out of here. It still remains as one of my favourite monster designs ever. There's something about the bug-like appearance with these really outlandish colours. It seems so alien. So I'm really excited to finally be remaking this guy. I want this redesign to appear much rounder than before, with large eyes bulging out from their head. The original design did have a round head, but the body segments were this awkward mishmash of a sphere and a cube. A sphere? I initially gave them these antennae which filled out the empty space above the monster, but throughout the rest of the drawing process I couldn't decide if I liked them or not, so you may see them disappear and reappear. On the topic of newly added details, they also have this little stinger behind them now. I've also changed their legs, going from this weird tree branch shape to being more alien-like with 2 toes on each foot. Then we move on to colouring, and I try to keep the colours as faithful as possible as I really do like the colour scheme of the original design. Again, something about the original design's colour scheme works really well for me. I did however make the body segments gradient into each other more. Rather than one blue head and 2 orange body segments, you can now see the head fade into a purple colour which then carries over into the middle body segment. The legs are also much closer to a purple colour this time around. Here is the new and improved Jitter. The original Jitter design has remained one that I like despite my drawing capabilities at the time, and I am so glad that I finally got around to updating them. They retain the awkwardness of the original design, looking like a rather helpless alien bug, but they also look a lot more round and bouncy now. I ended up replacing the wooden blocks on the original design with these fun purplish pink spikes that protrude from the different body segments. These spikes along with the antennae and stinger really give them this otherworldly look that I was trying to capture in the original design. I'm super happy with this redesign. Picture the scene. It's February 2023, and a young Nova wants to make a fan-made island full of new monsters. And you create this. It's actually kinda cute. This was the boat I was in when creating Slumber Island. It had a bunch of sleep-themed monsters, with the Slumber single elemental monster being Lullabi, this sleepy-looking moon thing. I'm always surprised when someone asks if I'll ever remake Slumber Island or update it, so this redesign is for those people. You'll notice the rough outlining that is already on screen, and that's because I forgot to record the initial first sketch, but thankfully I realised that I didn't record and was able to record the rest. I kept the head and face as accurate as I could to the original design, albeit with more exaggerated features like larger eyelashes, a larger pupil, and a much more curved moon mask. The more noticeable differences come from the body and arms, looking more like a nightgown which seems to be one size too large for this monster. They also have these petal-like cuffs at the end of their arms, under their arms, and around the neck. These will be nice to introduce more colour onto this design. Here is the redesigned Lullabi. I was surprised at how different this ended up being from the original. It feels like it embodies the element of slumber much more now, and it's really cool to see my old ideas come to life years later. I kept the overall colour scheme of blue and cream, but also introduced some soft yellows and soft blues into the newly added cuffs. I love the addition of these new colours. They feel really playful, which fits this already playful monster design. Again, I'm really happy with how this one turned out, and the added spots over the mask and face really are the cherry on top. I knew I had to do this monster last. Looking back, the design and sounds are really funny, and I have no idea as to what I was thinking when making Biddybub. But people seem to love it. So let's give it a visual glow up. Biddybub has an extremely simple design, and I don't really want to complicate that, but I do think some visual flares can be added to make them look more distinct and memorable. Starting off with different sizes for each Biddybub. Each bub? Each biddy? Well, they do each have a name, being Iddy, Biddy, and Bub. So Bub will be the largest, Biddy will be smaller than Bub, and Iddy will be the smallest of the Biddybub. I'm also able to capture more emotion through their mouths now. I really want to lean into giving each part of the Biddybub their own personal flair, and so to do that, they're each going to have their own colour. One will have more spots than the others, one will have red spots rather than pink, and let's make their mouths different colours. These details should help Iddy, Biddy, and Bub stand out more from one another, as opposed to the original design where they're all exactly the same. Here is the new, and I'd say improved Biddybub. Each member of the Biddybub, as previously mentioned, is much more distinct from each other now. Iddy is much smaller, sporting yellow skin and only a few red spots. Biddy is orange now, and sports a load of different sized spots, which are slightly more pink. Biddy's mouth is also pinkish purple now. Bub is now the largest of the three, having more spots than Iddy but less than Bub, and is also a middle ground between the yellows of Iddy and the oranges of Biddy. This whole Iddy Biddy Bub thing is really starting to feel like a mouthful. A mouthful?
I'm gonna redesign.
As I was saying earlier in the video, seeing the redesign next to the original really lets you see how much more brighter, colourful, and warmer the new design is in comparison. I had a lot of fun updating my old monsters and seeing how they'd look if I made them now. I guess if there was a lesson to be learned in this video, it would be to trust the process. Each aspect of drawing and designing that I've gotten better at is thanks to sitting through years of practicing and simply drawing. It can be hard to realise that the more you draw, the better you get, and I really do think that that's the key to improving. If you want to see me redesign more of my older monsters, leave a like on the video and I'll have to take a deep dive into the vast catalogue of creatures that I built up. In the comments, let me know which of these redesigns ended up being your favourite. For my favourite, I think I'm tied between Jitter and Lullabi. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.